There are planetary shifts, and then there are epochal transmissions. Moments when the sky doesn't just move, it speaks. On July the 7th, Uranus entered the sign of Gemini for the first time in 84 years. He will stay there until August 2032, and with that, a new frequency is released into the collective. This isn't just a change in sign, it is a change in how we think, how we speak, how we connect, and how we awaken to reality through the nervous system itself. Uranus in Gemini brings a new tempo, faster, lighter, more unpredictable. It replaces the dense body-centered energy of Taurus with air, language, code, and communication. Where Taurus taught us to ground, Gemini will teach us to fly. Through the mind, through networks, synaptic flashes of awareness. We will no longer be building on the earth. We will be broadcasting through the ethers. Hello everyone, welcome back to the Forgotten series. If you have watched my last podcast of Uranus as an archetype in astrology, in this episode we are moving forward with Uranus ingress into Gemini. I am your host, Genevieve. Thank you for joining me once again. Why this transit matters? Because Gemini is the mutable air sign. Here we have the quick, curious, dual in nature. And Gemini rules speech, writing, and conversation, early education, and information flow. It is about siblings, peer systems, and neighborhoods. Adding digital communication or short-distance travel. So when Uranus moves through Gemini, this area of life, both individually and collectively, we undergo sudden acceleration, disruption, and awakening. We may see a complete reimagining of education system, sudden breakthroughs in AI, neural interfaces, and language modeling, or radical shift in transportation and communication technologies. What about the decentralization of truth and a growing need to discern signal from noises? But it is not just about society. For every one of us, Uranus in Gemini will be a test of the mind, not only intellectual, but awareness, not only about knowledge, but frequency. To understand this transit, we must understand Gemini first, not only as a zodiac stereotype, but as a sacred archetype. Gemini is ruled by Mercury, the messenger of God. It lives at the threshold between thought and speech, self and the other, seen and unseen. At its highest, Gemini is the voice of the higher mind, the bridge between opposites, or the twin within all of us, light and shadow, reason and myth, the self and the soul. But with Uranus, the sky god of awakening, entering this mercurial realm, we are being invited, or perhaps jolted, into a new relationship with the mind. Not just thinking differently, but learning to think from a different dimension. It is not just a transit. This one is the reprogramming of collective consciousness through language, story, sound, and signal. In order to understand where we are going, we must look back to last time this energy moved through our collective field. Uranus last transit in Gemini between 1941 to 1949. It was a period of global upheaval, radical innovation, and the redrawing of human civilization. That was not a quiet cycle. It came with war, code breaking, scientific breakthroughs, media revolutions, and the restructuring of nations. Uranus in Gemini doesn't whisper. It speaks through the static, through the sirens, through the telegram and thicker tape, and through headlines and propaganda. That is the very shape of thought. Let us go back, revisit some of the key historical echoes in those transits. First, we have the World War II and the disruption of borders. Uranus entered Gemini in August 1941, when Second World War was intensifying. That was a period when nations were forcibly divided and redefined. Occupation, propaganda, and resistance become part of daily speech. Secret communication networks, radio intercept, Morse code, espionage took center stage. The war was not only physical, it was also linguistic, fought through disinformation, encrypted message, political speeches, and ideological binaries. Maybe all these we are already started to feel the same echo in our current political, national, international affairs. Gemini, sign of duality, reveal its shadows, us versus them, but it also carries the seed of future diplomacy. And in 1945, we have the birth of the United Nations. As Uranus reaches the middle of Gemini, the United Nations was established, a planetary attempt to form a dialogue across cultures, languages, and belief systems. This is pure Gemini-Uranian symbolism, a global network built through translation, negotiation, and mutual understanding. It was a forum that replaced brute force with diplomacy, discussion, and legal protocol. And yet, even as it sought peace, Uranus in Gemini remained restless. During the same cycle, Uranus in Gemini ushers in a new scientific era. The Manhattan Project led to the first use of atomic bombs, splitting atoms, splitting nations. And today, we are on the threshold of World War III, with nations threatening each other with atomic weapons once again. The first computer prototype was developed, laying groundwork for the digital age. Military intelligence began experimenting with early satellite and communication technology. Here we are seeing Uranus acting through Gemini's domain, scientific discovery through logic and language, new ways of organizing information, and acceleration of thought into code, calculation, and consequences. It was genius, but also terror. Gemini can communicate peace or propaganda. Uranus expands whatever signal it finds. And at the end of World War II brought mass displacement, refugee crisis, and partitioning. Germany was divided. India partitioned from Pakistan, and the foundation of Israel began under the sky. Borders, names, nations, all Gemini themes were being redrawn. Uranus brought instability, but also reinvention, a chance to rethink not just where to live, but who we are in relationship to the world. Of course, I have to mention about the television boom, the rise of Hollywood as global storyteller, and the consolidation of radio networks began under Uranus in Gemini. This marked a new era of mass communication, a core Gemini archetype amplified by Uranus. From letters to broadcast, from local news to world narratives, from speech to signal. And with it came the beginnings of cultural programming, the capacity to influence mass consciousness through repetition, rhythm, and imagery. What was the lessons then? Uranus in Gemini in the 1940s showed us that language is not neutral. It builds and it breaks. Technology can enlighten or erase, depending on who controls the message. Borders are inventions, but so are dreams of unity. As Uranus returned to Gemini this year, we are faced with similar questions, but at a different octave. Now, our code are not telegram, but algorithms. Our maps are not drawn in ink, but on neural networks and social feeds. Our truths are no longer universal. They are fractured, decentralized, and in need of coherence. Uranus in Gemini says it is time to rewrite the story, but this time let it serve the awakening, not the war. At least that is how I hope to be. And this we can hope with Uranus conjunct Venus when he ingress on the 7th of July. There is something extraordinary about the way Uranus entered Gemini. It is not subtle, it is not gradual, it is a conjunction, a cosmic meeting. With Venus, the two celestial bodies met at 0 degree in Gemini, hand in hand, like two messengers entering a new world. This is not just an astrological detail, it is a signal, a code embedded in the opening frequency of the entire 7 years Uranus in Gemini cycle. Every planetary ingress carries a seed, and this one is seeded with love, beauty, value, but charged with electric unpredictability. Let us break it down. What are the spiritual significance when they meet? Uranus, the planet of love and attraction, aesthetic, art, and pleasure, and she brings values, either financial, emotional, or ethical. Our capacity for relating and harmonizing with others. While Uranus is the planet of shock, awakening, and disruption, freedom, and originality, he is genius, detachment, and the future unknown. Together, their conjunction can bring sudden shift in relationships, unconventional attractions, changes in financial status or value system, aesthetic revolution in art, fashion, and technology, and hopefully also about liberation from outdated love narratives and dependencies. But this conjunction isn't just happening anywhere, It happens in Gemini 0°, the very threshold of Mercury's domain. So when Venus and Uranus enter Gemini, that love becomes language, values becomes thought, beauty becomes broadcast, and relationship becomes mental resonance. We move away from the body-bound sensuality of Venus in Taurus and enter a realm where words stimulate attraction, ideas become erotic, conversations become portals, and new forms of communication awaken new forms of intimacy. Collectively, this ingress could spark radical new ways of dating and relating. AI intimacy, intellectual pair bonding, weird relationship structures, or poly-minded values, and maybe sudden market shift in art, beauty tech, or luxury redefinition. A virtual aesthetic trend driven by neural net creativity and AI generation media, as we are seeing a lot lately. A wave of use-led revolutions in value, what we care about, who we listen to, and how we define worth. We might also see a backlash against superficial beauty and a re-emergence of intellectual beauty, poetic thinking, symbolic elegance. Artists, musicians, and thinkers blending science with art, tech with sensuality, code with color. This is the birth of a new Venusian language, where value is not just currency, but clarity. In our personal life, these days and weeks around the ingress could feel like meeting someone who changes how you think, or thinking about someone changes how you feel. A desire to speak your truth, even if it shatters a relationship dynamic. A call to redefine your values around love, money, time, and energy. An awakening of creativity through words, music, or dialogue. You might feel pulled towards people who stimulate your mind, art that speak to your future self, or environment that allow you to breathe intellectually. And it might come suddenly. One conversation, one idea, one encounter, and everything shifts. But remember, Uranus will stay in Gemini until 2032, but it enters with Venus by its side. This tells us that this cycle will not just be about information and technology. It will also be about how we relate, how we value, and how we connect through language, thought, and mutual liberation. This is not a love story in the traditional sense. It is a love story with the mind, with truth, with the kind of resonance that can't be faked. When love meets lightning, something inside us rewires, and suddenly we remember what we worth and who we are here to become. Let us go further about the dance of Uranus with Neptune, Saturn, and Pluto as well. Because Uranus doesn't enter Gemini alone. At the moment of ingress and during the months that follow, Uranus forms powerful alignment with the three other outer planets, each of them already in retrograde. Neptune in Aries, Saturn in Aries, and Pluto in Aquarius. These planets are not simply co-present. They are forming harmonious aspects to Uranus. This configuration creates a web of opportunity, revelation, and structural transformation. These are not hard angles. They are opening if we are ready to walk through them. But there's more. Each of these planets is retrograde, meaning the energies turn inward. This is a cosmic pause, a spiritual recalibration. The external world may feel uncertain, but the inner architect is being rebuilt. Let's explore which each of these aspects means. First, we look at Uranus sextile Neptune when Neptune retrograde in Aries. This is the dreaming channel, the mystical activation. Uranus awakens, Neptune dissolves, and together they unlock vision. Gemini and Aries form a sextile, a playful, exciting, and mentally alert interaction. Uranus in Gemini electrifies thought, while Neptune in Aries spiritualizes the willpower. This alignment may spark sudden download of inspired solutions to collective problems, a merging of technology with spirit, such as AI meditation, dream mapping apps, intuitive network, a youth-led spiritual uprisings, movement that reject control in favor of presence, compassion, and inner authority, a deeper call toward sacred activism, blending mystical awareness with courageous speech. Because Neptune is retrograde, the guidance will come from within, in dream, through poetry, through silence that speaks. This is the era where divine intelligence finds its voice, not through prophet, but through collective perception. And Uranus sextile Saturn as well. In retrograde, this is the balance of rebellion and responsibility. Innovation meets integrity. Saturn in Aries wants to rebuild the self from strength, not from structure. Uranus in Gemini asks us to speak a new language, to unlearn inherited system of thought. Their sextile offers an invitation to reconstruct society from a liberated foundation. This could manifest a new educational model that emphasizes freedom over conformity, conscious business structures that empower individuals, not corporations, a questionings of laws, bureaucracy, and leadership models that limit mental freedom, or a redesign of traditional time-based structures, such as calendar, work weeks, economic flow. Because Saturn is retrograde, the structural work is internal first. Are your beliefs aligned with the future you claim to want? Are your boundaries flexible enough to let freedom in? This sextile offers a real momentum, not just about idea, but applied changes. On top of that, we have Uranus trine Pluto in Aquarius. This is the deepest frequency of all, the power channel. Uranus and Pluto are generational transformations. When they form a trine, even in retrograde, they allow powerful evolutionary shift to flow with less resistance. Pluto in Aquarius breaks down outdated system of control, with Uranus in Gemini replaces them with a new code of communication. So together, they might catalyze mass awakening around information sovereignty, privacy, and truth, the collapse of global communication monopolies, and the rise of decentralized networks. Intense generational shift in consciousness, especially among those born with Pluto in Scorpio or Uranus in Aquarius. Personal breakthrough in identity, mental health, and the deprogramming of thought patterns rooted in trauma or suppression. Retrograde Pluto is digging deep, with Uranus respond by lighting the way forward. What's being deconstructed in Aquarius will be recoded through Gemini. This is the trine that awakens not just the mind, but the system. It is the code that changes the motherboard. We are living in such an extraordinary time. So from July to October 2025, we are in a moment when Uranus activates the mental field. Venus initiates a relationship reset. Neptune softens the veil and brings visionary download. And Saturn dissolves the false self and reasserts soul-aligned purpose. Finally, Pluto deconstructs the system that no longer serves human evolution. And all of them are in dialogue with one another through soft, harmonious aspect. This is not aggression, it's permission to change. The sky is not demanding, it is inviting us. But you have to listen carefully, because this kind of astrology doesn't shout, it hums at the background. Next, we will look at exact retrograde date for each of these outer planets, including Uranus, and what their overlapping retrograde seasons means for you and for the collectives. As if the landscape were not already electric enough. All four outer planets, Pluto, Saturn, Neptune, and Uranus, will be retrograde simultaneously between September until mid-October. And this is rare and this matter. Why? Because retrograde motions turns planetary energy inward. It slows the outer world and amplifies inner evolution. It reveals the subconscious patterns, the karmic echoes, and the system behind the systems. Retrograde doesn't stop life. They recalibrate it. Let us look at the timeline. As you can see from the screen, we have the overlapping period between September the 1st to October the 12th. This is not chaos, but conscious reprogramming. When Pluto retrogrades in Aquarius from May to October, this is power redefined, the deep restructuring of collective system. We might feel cracks in technological control structures, inner pressure to detach from toxic institutions, soul-level transformation in our relationship to truth and identity. While Neptune retrograde from July to December, this is vision detox, this clearing of delusion, spiritual bypass, and idealism for escape. It brings clarity through disillusionment, the rise of inner warriors grounded in spiritual discipline. and a need to act on inspiration, not just dreaming. With Saturn retrograde from July to November, this is ego refinement. Saturn, he is saying, lead, but lead from essence. Expect lessons in personal responsibilities, the collapse of false self-image, or a push to embody discipline without self-abandonment. And finally, with Uranus retrograde from September to January next year, this is mental rewiring. Sudden events slow down, but internal revolutions begin. You might feel restless, overstimulated, or mentally fragmented. The call to retreat from noise and recalibrate your personal truth. You might be guided to rewrite your own narratives, especially around communication, identity, or memory. So the portal from September to October, this 6-week period, is a cosmic pause, not a shutdown, but a dimensional reorientation. This is a precious time to revisit your belief system. Question where your energy has been colonized by fear or programming. Download new visions silently from the future, or the release of attachment to being right, certain, or in control. The retrograde sky is saying, stop chasing change. Let it find you, but make sure there is space for it to land. How can we work with this retrograde energy? Practice that can support you, such as journaling around old thoughts that no longer serve. Disconnecting from toxic information source. Rebalancing nervous system health. And revisiting astrology or spiritual studies with fresh insight. Spending time alone, in silence, where the future can whisper. Remember, this isn't the time to broadcast. It is the time to receive the new signal, the one that will define how you broadcast in the future. We can look ahead on time by early 2026. Uranus will go direct on January 30th. Neptune and Pluto will also be direct, and Saturn will stabilize into its next phase in Aries. And that's when the transmission of 2025 begin to manifest externally. But everything that happens then begins now, in the silence, in this stillness, in the moment the outer planets look back and ask you to do the same. For outer planets retrograde is not a time to fear. It is a sacred download, a system reset, and an invitation to think and live from a higher octave. Before we go into the 12th sign, I would like to say that is the mind rewritten, a message reborn. As Uranus entered Gemini, something ancient awakened in the modern world, not through thunder, not through fire, but through a language, through an idea, the silence, the sovereign power of the mind that no longer obeyed the old system, old paradigm, old code. We have seen what Uranus in Gemini has done before. It broke nations and built machines. how it rewired the way we communicate and scattered truth into the wind of history. And now, with this return, by this time, this message is different. This time, we have Venus walk beside him. This time, Neptune dream with him. And Pluto is ready to rebuild the power grid. And this time, we are awake enough to participate. The collective mind is shifting, but more importantly, our mind is shifting of story, of word, thought, and the silent truth beneath all of them. You don't need to be ready, but just need to be open, because Uranus never waits. He arrives suddenly, like lightning, like truth. If you feel these shifts stirring in your own life, and your mind is buzzing, if your relationships are changing, or your voice is ready to say something, but never dared to say before, now is the time to anchor this consciously. Book a one-to-one sessions with me to explore where Uranus is activating in your chart, what house Gemini rules in your life, or how this cycle may reshape your relationship, career, creativity, and soul path. In my website, the link below, GenevieveCheung.com. Let's bring clarity to the change and translate lightning into language. Together, we can walk this sky. My affirmation for you: I speak from truth, not habit. I think from freedom, not fear. My voice is a transmitter of awakening, and the message is already arriving. If you have Aries rising, that is the rewired mind, awakening through communication, truth, and the power of your voice. Uranus is in your third house and begins the 7-year revolution through your third house, the domain of mind, voice, learning, speech, writing, sibling, short journeys, and your immediate environment. This is not a subtle influence, but a nervous system level rewriting of how you perceive reality. Your thoughts won't just change, they will accelerate, fragment, reconnect, and reform in ways that challenge everything you thought you know. You are now becoming a messenger of the future, but it may begin with a crisis of communication or a sudden insight that changes how you speak forever. With Uranus conjunct Venus, the mind meets beauty, attraction rewired. These conjunctions set the tone to electrify your language of love, value, and connection. You might suddenly find yourself drawn to radical intellectual connection, falling in love through conversation, ideas, or shared mental resonance. Existing relationships with siblings, neighbors, or friends may shift dramatically through distance, healing, or surprising reconnection. You may be called to speak on subjects that once felt taboo, regarding love, worth, and identity with liberating clarity. For some, this may mark the beginning of a new writing project or message-based creative calling. You are not just talking, you are transmitting a frequency of truth and freedom. With Uranus sextile both Saturn and Neptune in Aries, that is the reconstructing the self and awakening the dreamer. At the same time, they are both retrograde in your first house, the house of identity, body, and selfhood. They form a sextile to Uranus, supporting an inner evolution of who you are becoming. Saturn asks, can your identity hold the weight of your message? And Neptune whispers, what if your voice is the vessel for a deeper dream? This is a potential alignment for creating new mental habits that are both structured and intuitive, dissolving ego defenses that block true expression, and learning to speak with both discipline and divinity. This period offers stability to your evolution, even while your mind is changing rapidly. Saturn provides grounding, and Neptune provides vision. And the trine to Pluto in Aquarius, that is the collective influence power in the network. Because Pluto also retrograde sits on your 11th house, ruling friends, communities, network, and collective dreams. This trine to Uranus link your personal awakening to social transformation. This is powerful. You are not just shifting mentally. Your community is transforming with you. Old groups or online spaces may fall away. New alliances, friendships, or revolutionary projects may arise. You may become a thought leader, educator, or conscious transmitter in your sphere. What you speak now has the power to shift paradigms. Use your voice wisely, not for control, but for liberation. It is about how to integrate, not just transmit, in your growth path. The shadow of Uranus in the third house is mental overstimulation, too much information too fast, speaking without grounding, disconnection from emotional truth. You might feel scattered or misunderstood, especially during the retrograde windows. You might question whether your ideas are too weird, too disruptive, or too much. But this is part of the evolution, because you are being asked to slow down when necessary. Let your word pass through the heart before the mouth. To develop a language that frees others without fragmenting yourself. The mantra for you is, my voice is a vessel of awakening. I speak from the soul, not the script. Truth lives in my frequency, and the world is ready to hear it. If you are Taurus rising, liberating the root, awakening value, worth, and the new earth economy, Uranus is in your second house. This 7-year cycle activates the domain of self-worth, money, possessions, resources, and the deep-rooted sense of what makes life secure. This is a profound shift, especially for someone with Taurus rising, a sign that typically seeks stability, sensuality, and grounded beauty. But now the sky is asking you to loosen your grip, not because you have to give it all away, but because your concept of value itself is being rewired. With Uranus conjunct Venus, that is redefining the worth beauty, and security. Your ruling planet also entering Gemini on the same day. This is a rare and personal significance cosmic moment for you. What does it mean? That could be a new cycle of radical self-value begins. You may feel called to leave behind an income source, redefine your relationships with money, or explore alternative economies. When Venus brings harmony and aesthetic, Uranus brings disruption. Together they say, beauty is not owned, it is lived. You might be drawn to digital, non-traditional, or spiritually attuned forms of income or creativity. Your possessions may change. What you once thought mattered, such as statues, routine, or luxury, may feel strangely irrelevant now, and what once felt intangible, peace, freedom, and truth, becomes priceless. This isn't about becoming minimalist, but about becoming magnetic to your own liberated worth. And Uranus is sextile Neptune and Saturn in Aries. That is the releasing of the old self, building the soul-based identity. They are both retrograde in your 12th house, the realm of the unconscious, karma, dreams, isolation, and spiritual surrender. Together, they form a sextile to Uranus, helping you to dissolve old subconscious blocks around money and worth. Stabilize your intuitive knowing and release ancestral beliefs around scarcity, survival, or self-doubt. This is a powerful time to reflect on unconscious habits tied to overspending, hoarding, or fearing lack. Build new structure rooted in spiritual alignment, not just economic anxiety. Awaken a more soulful economy, one that you trust your gifts will sustain you. You might begin asking, what would I create if I truly believed I was already enough? And Uranus trine Pluto in Aquarius, it is about career power and collective currency. With Pluto retrograde through your 10th house, creating a bridge between your personal values and your public contribution. This is about a career revolution. You may leave behind a traditional job, especially if it limits your voice or growth. You may feel called to speak, write, teach, or create from your own value system. Step into positions of influence that help reshape societal priorities, especially around wealth, justice, and innovation. This is a frequency shift happening in how the world defines success, and you are on the front line of that change. But only if you are willing to release what no longer reflects your essence. This growth path is about letting go of old security. The challenge of Uranus in the second house is fear of instability. You may experience sudden changes in income, unexpected expenses, or emotional discomfort around not knowing what next. But every disruption is a sacred initiation. This transit is not trying to take away what's yours. It is trying to reveal what cannot be taken away. That is your inner wealth. Uranus wants you to build a value system that is not rooted in fear, ownership, or comparison, but in resonance, clarity, and truth. My mantra for you: I am the source of my value. What I create from truth sustains me. My worth is not for sale. It is for service. For the lovely Gemini rising, this is the revolution of the self, becoming the future you. Uranus will travel through your first house, the house of identity, body, physical appearance, personal power, and how you present yourself to the world. This is not a minor influence, but a complete energetic shift in your aura, your choices, and your presence. Uranus in the first house breaks every box, rewrite every narratives, and invites you to become who you truly are, not who others expect you to be. And because these transits begin with Uranus and Venus both entering Gemini, that activation is instant. And Uranus conjunct Venus brings rebirth of identity and attraction. Landing directly in your first house and conjunct at 0°, this creates a personal awakening in the body, the mirror, and the heart. You may feel a sudden desire to change your look, wardrobe, or name, a magnetic shift in how others see you and how you relate to love and connection, a creative reinvention of new hairstyle maybe, new brand, new persona, new way of being. So you are not becoming someone else. You are becoming the you have been sensing for years, the ones that couldn't emerge until now. Venus softens this rebirth. It brings charm, beauty, and relational grace to the Uranian electricity. You will begin attracting those who see the real you, the thinker, the messenger, the weaver of word and world. The sextile to Neptune and Saturn in Aries. This is about dreams of the self and the grand shift. Both Saturn and Neptune retrograde sextile from your 11th house, the realm of friends, collectives, vision, and your place in the future story. This is a supportive harmony. Saturns give you new identity structure and responsibility, while Neptune infuses it with spiritual vision and service to the whole. You might feel drawn to redefine your role in groups and social platforms, withdraw from relationships or communities that no longer resonate. Step forward as a spokesperson, teacher, or conscious creator of something bigger than yourself. You are not just changing who you are becoming someone who transmits new possibilities for humanity through your presence. And the trine to Pluto in Aquarius, that is a cosmic upgrade. Pluto retrograde in your 9th house of higher truth, philosophy, and publishing forms a trine to Uranus in your first, a potent flow between identity and beliefs. This is a moment of profound inner power. Old dogmas are crumbling. Your personal truth is emerging. The beliefs that shaped your life until now, some may collapse and others will crystallize like never before. This transit can awaken a new spiritual path for you, a calling to share your truth publicly through speaking, writing, media, or mentorship. The courage to break away from cultural or religious constraints that no longer align. Be your own permission. This Uranus cycle will change you to let go of people-pleasing mask, release fear of inconsistency or change, live as a fluid, evolving being without apologizing. There may be times you feel unrecognizable to yourself. You may face pushback from those who prefer the old you, but the old you wasn't fake, it was simply incomplete. And now there is the full transmission is coming online. Mantra for you. I am a living transmission of change. I evolve without fear. I speak from my soul, and the world meets me anew. For Cancer rising, that is the hidden awakening, dissolving the past, rebirthing of the soul. The Uranus-in-Gemini transit entered the most mysterious part of your chart, the 12th house, the house of dream, solitude, the subconscious, spiritual surrender, exile, and karmic release. This is not a house of the outer world, but a house of what lies beneath it. When Uranus, the awakener, moves into this liminal domain, it doesn't shout, it whispers in vision, sends sparks through dreams, disrupt the sleep, or suddenly illuminate hidden karmic pattern. In this 7-year journey of subconscious liberation, and it begins with a celestial bang. With Uranus conjunct Venus, love lost and love remembered. In your 12th house together, this activation is quiet but profound. It may bring sudden resurfacing of unresolved past lovers, soul bonds, or karmic attraction, an awakening of spiritual longing or the desire to connect with divine feminine. This could be a shift in how you relate to love itself, letting go of attachment, clinging, or old illusion. Venus here softens the pain of letting go. She helps you to release with beauty, grace, and deep inner peace. But the truth will come swiftly. Uranus is not sentimental. It clears the path so your higher self can breathe again. The sextile with Neptune and Saturn in Aries is about career alignment through soul truth, with both in retrograde. In your 10th house, the house of career, public life, and long-term legacy. This is a sacred alignment. Neptune dissolves outdated goals related in the ego, while Saturn rebuilds your vocation around spiritual integrity. Uranus here in the 12th clears the internal blocks that have held you back from fully stepping into visibility. You may feel called to retreat temporarily to receive new vision. Close chapters in your career that no longer align with your soul, or step into service roles, healing art, or mystical teaching, but not in the way the world expected. This transit asks you to lead not with ambition, but with inner clarity. And the trine with Pluto in Aquarius, it is about soul contract and subconscious power. With Pluto in your 8th house, ruling transformation, intimacy, death and rebirth, and soul contract. This is a deep magic. Expect sudden revelations of past life patterns or karmic entanglement. An urge to break energetic dependencies, cords, or sacred dynamics that are no longer yours to carry. And it is an opportunity to undergo a profound spiritual rebirth, releasing grief, shame, or fear stored in the unconscious body. It is shadow work, but not from fear, but from freedom. You are being given the keys to the back door of your psyche. Walk through them gently. It is not a time of outer upheaval, but a time of inner revolution. Be still enough to hear the transmission. Uranus in the 12th house can bring restlessness in solitude, unusual dreams or psychic download, sudden spiritual awakening, flashes of intuition or energetic surge. That is a need to retreat from the world before fully re-emerging. Give yourself permission to unplug, release, and reprogram. This is the last house before the rebirth in your rising sign. You are preparing for a full energetic renewal in 2032. Let go of who you thought you had to be. Let silence become your teacher. Mantra for you, Cancer. I surrender with grace. My silence speaks. My past dissolves, and my soul awakens. For Leo rising, it is the revolution of the network, redefining community, vision, and future belonging. Uranus moves through your 11th house, the house of friendships, community, network, vision for the future, and your role within the collectives. It is not just about a personal upgrade, but rewiring of your entire ecosystem, who you align with, what movement you join, how you express yourself publicly. All of it is up for transformation. And it begins quite dramatically with a conjunction at the gate of change. The conjunct with Venus is redefining friendship, visibility, and values in the collectives, landing in your 11th house. This marks a sudden shift in your friendship cycles or social positioning, the entry of new unexpected connections, possibly unusual, artistic, useful, or radical in nature. You might have a desire to share your gift with the collectives, but on your own terms, or a need to redefine how you receive love, support, and recognition. This is a potent rebirth of how you belong. You may find old groups fall away, a new digital identity emerge, or the need to choose authentic resonance over performance. Venus in this house also awakens the desire to experience art, music, beauty, and love through community. But Uranus will not let it be conventional. This is future love, future friendship, all tribes. The sextile to Neptune and Saturn in Aries. It is visionary structures, spiritual leadership. They both retrograde in Aries, in your 9th house, the realm of wisdom, travel, publishing, teaching, and philosophy. This is a doorway into new spiritual community or teachings. Sharing your message through writing, mentorship, or movement work, or reconstructing your worldview through service and creative inspiration. Saturn helps you anchor your gift into a teaching, course, or offering, while Neptune reminds you that this vision is not just yours, it is collective's. You may feel the call to speak to broader audience, connect with global networks, lead or co-create something that uplifts the whole. But to do that, you must first reclaim your voice among the many. And the trine to Pluto in Aquarius, it is the power of the other, intensity, in cooperation. Pluto retrograde in your 7th house of partnership forms a trine to Uranus, awakening transformative energies in the space of collaboration, creative union, and sacred contract. This may trigger the arrival of powerful allies, partners, or co-creators, a deep re-evolution of the power dynamic in your friendships or work collaborations, or maybe the end of a long-held relational patterns that limit your public visibility. Partnership now must feel aligned in soul mission. No more performative loyalty, no more serving egos, only mutual awakening and collective elevation. So this growth liberates your vision, not just your image. Leo rising often find power through presence, but Uranus in the 11th teach you presence means nothing if you are trapped in the wrong room. This transit will help you to clarify your future goals, build new network, align with your evolving truth, and to embrace the spotlight in a way that serves others, not just yourself. You may face rejection or confusion from those who don't resonate with your frequency anymore. But that is okay. You are not here to fit in. You are here to create what doesn't yet exist. A mantra for you. I am a voice of the future. I shine without apology, and I build what the world has not yet imagined. To Virgo rising, that is the awakening, the calling, the revolution in career, legacy, and public identity. Uranus in Gemini enters your 10th house, the realm of career, visibility, life direction, vocation, and public reputation. This is a transformative transit through the highest point of your chart, a place that governs how the world sees you, what you are known for, and how you rise to meet your destiny. Uranus doesn't move quietly through this house. It disrupts titles, dismantles outdated roles, and awakens the real mission. And with Venus arriving beside him, this redefinition is both shocking and beautiful, an invitation to lead with authenticity, not approval. With both Uranus and Venus enter your 10th house, changing the face of your career. That is a powerful activation of your professional identity, creative direction, and public values. You may expect sudden changes in career, including breakthroughs or endings, a desire to do work that reflects your evolving values and inner truth, attraction to more creative, intellectual or spiritually aligned vocations, or a shift in how others perceive you, from polished to eccentric, from capable to visionary. If you have felt boxed into a role that no longer fits, that is your liberation. This transit may bring recognition in unexpected ways of viral content, teaching platforms, holistic businesses, or quiet revolution in leadership styles, less controlling, more magnetic. Venus blesses this change with relational grace. People are drawn to your uniqueness now, not because you have followed the rules, but because you have rewritten them with elegance. The sextile with Neptune and Saturn in Aries, that is the transforming authority with soul depth in your 8th house, the zone of power, intimacy, shadow, and energetic exchange. This is a deep inner restructuring. Saturn helps you establish healthy boundaries in business and visibility, while Neptune helps you lead with empathy, intuition, and soul mission. And Uranus challenges you to step out of fear and into your authentic impact. This configuration is saying you don't need to prove your worth. You need to own your power. You might become a healer who speaks from lived experience, a mystic business person, a teacher of unseen truth, or a quiet architect of transformation in a noisy world. But only if you are willing to let go of people-pleasing rules and step into the authority of your own voice. And the trine with Pluto in Aquarius, that is redesigning surface and system in your 6th house of daily work, service, health, and structure, connecting your vocation with your everyday mission. This alignment may inspire a total overhaul of your daily routine and work systems, liberation from toxic work environment or burnout cycles, deep healing through restructuring your nervous system, not just your schedule. This is the power of integration. You may be called to build businesses that serve humanity, offer skills that bridge logic and spirit, and to lead not from pressure, but from precision and purpose. You are learning to let go of what success used to mean. The shadow of this transit is career chaos. If you cling to outdated forms of control or perfectionism, Uranus will tear them down, but not to punish you, to free you. This is your moment to drop the resume version of yourself. Stop trying to be everything to everyone. Trust that your career path doesn't need to be linear, it needs to be true. You are not climbing a corporal ladder anymore. You are constructing a frequency tower from which your real signal can be received. Mantra for you: I lead with clarity, not conformity. I rise in service to truth, not approval. To Libra rising, that is about the expansion of the mind, revolution in belief, truth, and the sacred quest. Uranus in Gemini Move through your ninth house, the realm of belief system, philosophy, higher education, religion, publishing, international travel, and spiritual expansion. This is a 7-year period of mental liberation and visionary disruption. Everything you thought you believed may begin to unravel, not to leave you empty, but to make room for your own lived truth. Uranus here acts as the sky teacher, and his lessons come through surprise, challenge, and awakening insights. Uranus conjunct Venus here is the awakening of beauty and truth through new philosophy. This is a beautiful and radical invitation to explore new worldviews, heart-centered teaching, and multidimensional education. You may feel a pull to study something unconventional, astrology, metaphysics, AI ethics, or sacred history, or to leave behind inherited dogma and redefine your own belief system. To travel suddenly, especially for spiritual or artistic reasons. Fall in love with someone or something that opens your mind, not just your heart. So Venus softened this explosive entry. She helped you discern not only what's intellectually stimulating, but also what aesthetically and ethically aligned. She brings grace to your search for truth, reminding you that wisdom should feel both grounded and beautiful. And the sextile to Neptune and Saturn in Aries, of partnership and the spiritual path. They both retrograde in Aries, activating your seventh house, the zone of partnership, soul contract, and relational mirrors. The sextile suggests you are transforming how you think about relationship as spiritual learning. Some partnerships may become portals for growth. Others may dissolve if they no longer align with your higher truth. Saturn offers structural for discerning commitment. With Neptune whisper what your soul already knows. In together, this transit says you cannot expand into your higher calling if you are clinging to old relational definitions. This is the time to build relationships that encourage your mental freedom, not threaten it. And Uranus trine Pluto in Aquarius, that is about creative power and visionary expression. In your fifth house of creativity, joy, and self-expression forms a harmonious trine to Uranus, opening powerful channel between your vision and your creative fire. This could lead to publishing breakthroughs ideas, sharing your voice through writing, art, or performance, tapping into intuitive or channel creative state that bypass logic. You are not creating just to express. You are creating to liberate minds. This is also a highly fertile period for download, cosmic inspiration, or unexpected pregnancy. So be careful. Or the idea of life. Trust the flow, even if it arrives like lightning. So it is about the dismantling of old truth and reclaiming the inner compass. With Uranus in the ninth house, your challenge is mental arrogance or confusion. You might question everything, even yourself. That's okay though. This is the unlearning phase, a vital part of awakening. Your role as the diplomat may begin to feel limiting. You will be drawn to truth that resonates in the body, not just the mind. Teachers will appear, but only when you stop pretending you already know. So let go of the need to be balanced. Let yourself be lit up. Mantra for you. I walk the path of living truth. I liberate my mind to create a more beautiful world. My wisdom is alive and it evolves with me. For Scorpio rising, it is about liberation through depths, transforming intimacy, power, and the unseen self. Uranus-in-Gemini begin a 7 year journey through your 8th house, the domain of shared resources, intimacy, trauma, inheritance, energetic exchange, sexuality, depth, and deep psychological transformation. This is not a surface level transit. It is an initiation into the hidden realms. And with Uranus, this initiation will be unexpected, non-linear, and at times utterly electrifying. What once controlled you, fear, attachment, financial dependency, or secret, it's about to be radically restructured. With Uranus conjunct Venus, it can bring sudden shift in bonds, desire, and energetic exchange. This initiates a deep and transformative shift in your intimate connections. You may experience unexpected beginnings or endings in romantic and sexual relationships, new desire surfacing of intellectual, taboo breaking, and liberating. There may be some changes in financial arrangement, especially shared income or debt. You may have sudden inheritance or a release from inherited patterns about money, trauma, or karma. Venus brings grace to the rapture. She softens the shedding process, reminding you that true intimacy is mutual freedom, not control. This conjunction may also spark a spiritual or erotic awakening, one that connects body, mind, and soul through new forms of trust and vulnerability. And Uranus sextile Neptune and Saturn in Aries. It is about body awakening, healing through disciplines. In your 6th house in Aries, the domain of health, daily work, ritual, and service. This sextile is subtle but powerful. You are being guided to heal from trauma through embodied practice, not just analyze. To create new nervous system patterns that support emotional regulation. Or recommit to daily ritual that integrate the psycho-spiritual breakthroughs you are experiencing. It is about stabilizing your energy field so that you can handle more intimacy without collapse. Saturn will grant you, and Neptune will inspire you toward surface. And the trine to Pluto in Aquarius, it is about ancestral freedom, home rebirth. With Pluto retrograde in your 4th house of home, family, and emotional roots, this trine to Uranus in your 8th house Together, they form an arc of ancestral healing and psychic liberation. You may experience major revelations around your lineage, especially maternal or feminine ancestors. A release of old family shame, secrecy, or emotional patterns. Or a total redefinition of what home means to you, both emotionally and physically. This is a potent time to work with ancestral healing or clear inherited debt, both financial and emotional, to create a home or sanctuary that reflect your rebirth identity. This is the path of trust, of the breakdown. The eighth house demands surrender. Uranus demands freedom. Together, this transit can feel like losing what you thought was secure, opening to someone new and suddenly being changed, feeling vulnerable but electrically alive. Your challenge would be to not retreat into control or secrecy. Let your heart open, even as the old story collapses. You are not dying. You are becoming uncaged. Mantra for you. I release what no longer fits my truth. I reclaim my energy. I awaken through depths and rise through intimacy. To Sagittarius rising, the mirror awakens, redefining relationships, attraction, and sacred agreement. Uranus-in-Gemini enter your seventh house, the realm of marriage, long-term partnerships, contract, commitment, and the mirror of the other. Over the next 7 years, your relationship will change radically, unexpectedly. But this isn't about chaos for chaos' sake. It is about awakening through connection. You are being asked to evolve how you meet others, not by losing yourself, but by becoming more fully yourself within relationship. With Uranus conjunct Venus, love rewired, attraction redefined. In your seventh house, this initiates a powerful and unpredictable cycle in your relational life. You may experience sudden beginnings or endings in romantic or business partnership. Attraction to people who defy your past patterns, maybe younger, more intellectual, non-traditional, or nomadic. A desire to redefine commitment, not from duty, but from resonance. That could be a calling to explore more spacious or creative forms of relating. Venus brings harmony and aesthetics. Uranus brings disruption and freedom. So together, they remind you love is not possession. It is a living, breathing field of reflection. You may fall in love through conversation, be awakened through contrast, or realize that true partnership is one that honors mental independence and shared vision. And the sextile to Neptune and Saturn in Aries, of romance, creativity, and sacred boundaries in your fifth house, the realms of creativity, joy, and inner child expression. This sextile to Uranus stabilize and spiritualize your approach to relationships. This is a beautiful synergy that asks, can your partnership support your creative truth? Are you willing to build something real from play, not performance? Can love be both grounded and visionary? Saturn helps you discern what's sustainable, and Neptune deepens the soul resonance. Together with Uranus, they invite you to fall in love with potential, but only if it is matched by presence. And the trine to Pluto in Aquarius, empowered communication and mental intimacy. Pluto retrograde in Aquarius activates your third house of thought, learning, and the way you connect through language. The trine to Uranus in the seventh house speak of transformational dialogue and truth-telling in your closest bonds. You may find relationships that challenge your mind and upgrade your thinking. The courage to speak your truth without needing to be agreed with, or breakthroughs in how you listen, respond, and hold space for the other without losing yourself. This is a relationship revolution grounded in mutual growth and electric honesty. So partnership is a mirror, not a mask. With Uranus in the seventh, can bring fear of commitment, restlessness in love, or confusion around what you want in a partner. But they are not flaws, they are signals. You are learning to commit without conforming, to love without losing your voice, to collaborate without codependency. It is about sacred agreement, partnerships that serve your evolution, not just your comfort. A mantra for you: I awaken through the mirror of love. I relate from freedom, not fear. My truth magnetizes connection that liberates us both. For Capricorn rising, revolution in routine, to awaken through work, health, and rhythm of service. Uranus in Gemini begin a 7 years reconfiguration in your sixth house, the house of daily life, health, work environment, service, rituals, and your relationship to discipline. This is the house that governs how you move through your days, how your nervous system functions, how your body supports your service, and how you structure time and labor. Uranus here is saying it is time to evolve the pattern, not just adjust your schedule, but awaken the deeper frequency behind your functionality. In conjuncting Venus, it is about beauty in the details, disruption in the routine. This brings a sudden but graceful awakening in how you live, work, and care for your vessel. This could manifest as a desire to leave a job or to radically change how you work. A sudden shift in colleagues, routines, or roles of responsibility. You may have new interest in non-traditional wellness practices, such as breath work, light therapy, or energy healing, or about reconnection with self-worth through simplicity and beauty in everyday actions. Venus brings harmony, while Uranus brings change. Together, they invite you to beautify your lifestyles without rigid control. You don't have to earn your wellness. You are allowed to enjoy it. The sextile to Neptune and Saturn in Aries, of healing the root, restructuring the foundation. They activate the fourth house of home, emotional safety, and inner belonging. So this sextile to Uranus offers a powerful opportunity to heal your nervous system through safety and spiritual presence. This is about releasing outdated ancestral beliefs about labor and productivity, creating a home base that supports mental clarity and energetic freedom, or establishing routines that feel gentle but effective, not punishing or performanistic. So Saturn gives you the strength to rebuild your inner foundation, and Neptune reminds you to do it with compassion, not discipline alone. You may also find that working from home or building a business rooted in your personal rhythms become more aligned than ever. And the trine to Pluto in Aquarius is about earning power and value shift. Pluto retrograde in your second house of income, self-worth, and tangible resources, trine Uranus, linking your daily work with relationship to money and value. This could signal a shift from job-based income to frequency-based earning, a redefinition of what you consider valuable, your time, your energy, or your attention. The urge to build a business or offering that feels energetically clean, efficient, and liberating. You are learning that your worth isn't in how much you do, but in how aligned you are. So freeing the worker within you. This transit might stir resistance to schedules, burnout followed by a desire for total detachment, or a nervous system in need of recalibration. Uranus is not here to make you less responsible. He is here to upgrade your relationship to responsibility. You are still here to serve, but your service must be authentic, embodied, and sustainable, not extracted from guilt or outdated conditioning. You might feel like routines break down, but that's only so new ritual can emerge organically. Mantra for you: I serve from truth, not obligation. My daily life reflects my frequency. I am free in rhythm and grounded in presence. For Aquarius rising, this is creative liberation, rewriting joy, romance, and the child within. Uranus, your modern ruling planet, begins a 7-year journey through your fifth house, the domain of creativity, love, passion, self-expression, children, risk-taking, and joy. This is your personal playground, your stage, and your canvas. And Uranus is arriving with a wild paintbrushes and unexpected scripts. The way you experience pleasure, romance, and creative sparks is about to change, not gently, but with inspiration, urgency, and a rebellious sense of freedom. With Venus and Uranus conjunct, electric love, unconditional joy. They are in your fifth house. This is a profound reawakening of the heart space, a romantic and creative blast of air and light. You may feel unexpected attraction to people who stimulate your mind and freedom, not just your emotions, or a pull toward experimental art, new forms of expression, or avant-garde performance, of sudden breakthroughs in healing the inner child through laughter, dance, or sacred play, and the urge to love without labels or to reimagine romance on your own terms. Venus brings softness and sensuality, while Uranus brings wild originality. Together they say, there are no rules when it comes to love, only resonance. And sextile Neptune and Saturn in Aries, it is about grounding the message and expression, the soul, with both retrograde in Aries activate your third house, the realm of thinking, speaking, writing, teaching, and everyday expressions. This sextile to Uranus might bring a chance to find clarity in your creative voice, to build platforms to share your joy with the world authentically, heal childhood blocks around communication, creativity, or being too much. Saturn gives structure to your creative ideas, and Neptune infuses them with spiritual depths. And Uranus adds innovation and spark. You may write, teach, or speak in ways that surprise even you, but they feel true. This is your creative awakening, grounded in higher purpose. And the trine to Pluto in Aquarius, it is about identity rebirth and magnetic selfhood. With Pluto retrograde in your first house of identity, physical body, and personal power forms a trine to Uranus in your fifth house. This is a powerful transmission of sovereign self-expression. You are not just playing more, you are becoming more fully yourself. Expect magnetic attractions as you step into a more embodied, unapologetic version of you. A deeper understanding of your personal charisma and how to use it consciously, of creative ideas that carry transformational power, not just entertainment. This is joy as revolution, play as power, or self-expressions as sacred medicine. This is a path of fearless joy. The shadow of this transit is the temptation to stay distant or cool to avoid vulnerability, or fear emotional risk in love or creativity, overthinking spontaneity. But this is not the time to hold back. You are invited to create without censoring, to love without projection, and to let your inner child take the wheel sometimes. This is how Uranus works. Joy isn't a distraction from growth, it is a portal to it. A mantra for you. I express without fear. I play without apology. My joy is my rebellion, and my freedom is contagious. To Pisces rising, this is the inner earthquake, liberating the home, healing the root. Uranus enter your fourth house, the sacred foundation of your chart. This house rules of home, family, ancestry, emotional safety, inner security, and your sense of belonging. This transit may not be visible to others at first, but it is profoundly felt. Uranus in the fourth house often begins with subtle restlessness and evolved into a deep personal revolution. The need to reclaim your space, your lineage, and your inner ground. Whether it is the home you live in, or the one you come from, or the one you are still searching for, something is shifting. With both Uranus and Venus in your fourth house, this opens a surprising doorway in your emotional world, family dynamic, or living situation. You may experience a sudden move or strong urge to relocate, or a redefinition of what home means, perhaps towards shared, digital, or nomadic living. A softening of old wounds from family of origin, or a complete break from toxic ties, or an urge to decorate, to build, or redesign your space in a more artistic and mentally stimulating way. Venus lends beauty and love to the shake-up Uranus brings. If home was once a cage, now it becomes a sanctuary, but not necessarily a traditional one. Think about mobile, intelligent, modular, or community-based living. This conjunction may also reconnect you with feminine ancestors or past life homes, leading to an unexpected emotional restoration. And the sextile to Neptune and Saturn in Aries, building safety through self-worth. They both retrograde in Aries, activate your second house of value, income, and stability. This sextile to Uranus supports you in rebuilding your emotional foundation through self-worth. This may be a time when financial decisions affect your living situations, or vice versa. You release old beliefs that tied safety to sacrifice, or you realize your true sense of home lives within your presence, not a postal code. Saturn will help you establish new structure, while Neptune will help you feel spiritually guided and protected in the process. Together with Uranus, they teach you to let go of inherited security patterns that no longer support your evolution. Uranus also trine Pluto in Aquarius, of subconscious release, karmic closure. Pluto retrograde in your 12th house of endings, hidden patterns, and spiritual memory, trines Uranus in the 4th house. This is a deeply karmic flow between your inner world and your ancestral roots. You might uncover family secrets, traumas, or ancestral gifts ready to be activated. Past life ties to certain lands, cultures, or houses. A need to detox emotionally and energetically from inherited burdens. This is a sacred time to engage in somatic healing, family constellation work, spiritual house cleansing, or emotional release rituals tied to your bloodline or your early environment. What ends now is not just a chapter, it is a whole karmic thread. So it is the path of finding home within change. With Uranus in your 4th house might bring sudden disruption in home or family, confusion around where and with whom you belong, period of isolation or detachment from roots. But every trauma is part of the rebuilding. This is not instability, it is liberation. You are being called to redefine your base of safety, to create inner belonging that no outer chaos can touch. or to grant your spiritual path in real lived experience. Home is no longer a name, it becomes a state of being. And mantra for you: I am the keeper of my inner sanctuary. My roots go through presence, not place. I release the past and build home from freedom.